Tarun is going to start the recording. Okay, all done. So I'll start with introductions. My name is Komathy Padmanabhan. I'm from Monash University. I'm coordinating this community of practice now. I'm joined by Tarun and Mingfang from ARDC. If you can both turn on your videos. Thank you. Tarun and Mingfang would be joining me in introducing some of these sessions. And also thanks to all the presenters today who have agreed to present their views, perspectives, and challenges representing the community they come from. And yeah, so we'll go to the next slide, please, Tarun. So today's session, Tarun would be sharing the session sharing a screen throughout the session, and we'll have different speakers speaking through the various parts of the presentation. Next slide, please, Tarun. We'll start with the acknowledgements to the country. We acknowledge and celebrate the first Australians on whose traditional lands we meet, and we pay our respect to the elders past and present. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people joining us today. Next slide, please. So we've got the links to the agenda, the slide deck that we are using today, and the link to the Community of Practice portal, as well as the ARDC article that has been recently published. And if you're tweeting about this event, please use the hashtags mentioned there. Okay, so introduction. So this community of practice is an initiative of the Environments to Accelerate Machine Learning-Based Discovery project, which is an ARDC platform project, which was funded in 2020 or late 2019. So this came up after discovery activity that Wojtek and myself, Wojtek is in the call. Hi, Wojtek. So we did it in 2019, so which involved surveying and reaching out to the researchers across Australia. So we had around 120 researchers who we surveyed to understand the various challenges in applying machine learning to their research. There's a link in the slide which has a summary of all the challenges that has been captured as part of that study. So following that study, there was a platform proposal that we had put in, which got funded, and that's the project looks at 4 different aspects of machine learning. Tarun, if you can skip to the next slide, please. Yeah. So the project focuses on 4 key areas. One is building an integrated machine learning environment, which eases the use of compute environment for ML researchers, and to support ML at scale through improved efficiency and expertise, which is more about benchmarking and building documentation around how we can improve the efficiency of the environments. The third one is to provide targeted training, which is kind of informed by the survey and the study that we performed, which clearly indicated that 4 or 5 tools are the key tools which has been used by 90% of the ML community. So focusing more towards building beginner, intermediate, and advanced courses around these tools and techniques. And fourth one is to build communities of practice to bring all the various kind of communities identified here to come together and share their knowledge and experiences. So this ML community of practice is the 4th line item which is mentioned here, which is to bring the communities together and start discussing about challenges and how we can collectively address some of these challenges. And as we speak about communities, we kind of identified through various conversations we had as part of this platform project in the last one here, to identify what are the various communities that represent in this group. So there are 4 distinct communities which has come up in those discussions, and open for more inputs around what other communities we should consider, or how we can combine or split some of these existing communities here. Also mindful that this communities doesn't reflect any specific specialized ML or specific domain. For example, we did spin up something called NLP Community of Practice, which we assume is part of this larger umbrella machine learning community of practice. So this is all up for discussion. I think that's what we want to hear from the community and see where we all think are how we should structure these conversations and bring it together. So the idea of this community of practice is to actually bring, first connect people, identify where each of our challenges are and how we can work together to solve some of these challenges. If I take one simple example, one of the activities that we found has been happening across multiple institutions is training their communities, their user cohorts on machine learning. So we found that every other organization that we interacted with has been developing some sort of training materials, helping their researchers to apply machine learning to their research. And apparently, since it's kind of early in that curve, most of the communities have been developing introductory trainings, and we found that there is a possibility of duplication of effort. So we thought, why not bring all these people together and start thinking about how we can all co-develop or co-design some of these so that we don't end up duplicating, and we also address wherever the skills are. So some group could look at developing introductory courses, and some groups can focus more towards building intermediate, and advanced courses. So it's all about bringing all these groups who has specific challenges and start looking at how cohesively we can work together to address these challenges. So we've listed 4 different communities here: practitioner community, who are a set of hands-on people who have been helping their own researchers and their organizations to apply machine learning to their research, training groups and volunteers who have been training their user cohorts on applying machine learning, infrastructure providers, specifically high-performance compute environment, who have been supporting their researchers to efficiently use these infrastructure. And also we've got some representation from the user or research community itself, speaking about their challenges, what challenges they face in applying machine learning to their research. So as part of this platform project, whatever resources we have collated so far, we've also put that in a portal, which we see has one central place where we can contribute all the assets that we have generated so far, and also we ask the community to share content into it. So we bring that awareness among the entire community around what each of us are working on. Tarun, can I please ask you to open the link so we can provide a quick overview? Yeah, thank you. So this is the portal that's been put in place, which has been functioning for quite a while. We kind of launched this in the ARDC Skills Summit back in October 2020. So the portal itself has list of all the meetings and events which has been scheduled or run by the platform project. But apparently this is something which we want to, which we encourage everyone in this group to contribute and make use of. So if you want to bring awareness among some of the events that you're running, please do add it to the portal so everyone is aware of. And there's a lot of resources that have been put in this portal specifically around tools, data collections, and the training content, which is all available for the community to use. So please do leverage them. And as you find any other resources that is useful that you have discovered or you've created, please do contribute it back to the portal. There are links everywhere on how you can contribute to this portal. There's also, so we've got news, if there's some significant achievements or success stories that you want to share, please do put on here or share a link with the group. Yeah, so that's largely around what the community is currently focusing on. I have Mingfang, who's going to speak about what are ARDC's interest in this. But before I hand over to Mingfang, probably I'll just run through how we are structured today. So we've got a few questions that that we will run to understand more about what you all think this community of practice should be. While we have put our views and whatever we have listened so far, we want to hear from you. What do you think this community should be, and what level of participation that you think that you can contribute to this community? And that's one of the question. And then that's followed by a series of kind of a lightning talks from all the 4 communities that's mentioned here, speaking about their experiences and their challenges, representing the group that they come from. And followed by that, there would be a small summary of challenges, and again, question back to you all to ask about what do you all think that the significant challenge that we should address collectively. And that becomes kind of an agenda for the next meeting, in terms of what is that one big challenge that we want to look at, brainstorm further and understand how we can tackle them between us, or take it offline and work in small working groups to tackle it, however we see it fit. So that's more or less the structure of the session today. In terms of questions and comments, it's kind of, there are 65 participants so far, so I'm not sure if we can really look at answering questions here. But apparently we want this to be more discussion rather than more of a one-way communication. So please do put your comments on the chat window, and we'll keep the last minutes for discussion before we finalize the agenda for the next meeting. So I will hand it over to Mingfang now to speak about ARDC's inputs here.
Yeah, thanks, Komathy. As Komathy introduced, my name is Mingfang Wu. I'm working for Australia Research Data Commons, also known as ARDC. For those on the call don't know about ARDC, ARDC is a project of National Research Infrastructure for Australia, so which is funded by Australia government initiative. So so earlier, Komathy said the trigger of this community of practice is co-invested machine learning project, co-invested by Monash, UQ, and ARDC. So why do we care about this? So as you see from these slides, the mission of ARDC is to transforming digital infrastructure to support a leading edge. Sorry, did we go the second slide? Should we move on the earlier slides? Yeah, sorry. No, the one before. Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, so the mission is, the vision for ARDC is to transforming digital infrastructure to support leading edge research and innovation. We achieve this vision through 4 areas of works, from people and policy, which include community engagement skills and training, through platform software, through data and service, and storage and computing. You can see from the Komathy's introduction, this machine learning project and the community of practice covers almost all. So we can easily to take that vision and replace to the machine learning. Next slide. Yeah, so we say the machine learning platform project and a community practice is to support a leading edge machine learning research, application, and innovation through the digital infrastructure to be built. So really, I would like to thank Komathy and each of member of the platform project team for initiate and undertake lots of efforts to create this community of practice. And since the start of this machine learning platform project, they already delivered 140 hours of training to more than 900 participants from 22 organizations. So they have done quite a lot of activities here, but there are lots of other communities and a project, funded by ARDC. If you look at the recent round of platform projects, almost half of them has machine learning flavor in their scope. So we hope those projects will join these activities in this community of practice. And even, organization, they have communities not co-invest by ARDC could join and contribute to this community of practice. That would make this community of practice more sustainable. So if we are united, we'll be stronger and then put better service to machine learning researchers and the community. Okay, over to you, Komathy.
Thanks, Mingfang. So yeah, that's really valuable. I think the whole idea of this community of practice is to, one, as I mentioned earlier, extend whatever we've been doing so far to a much wider community rather than just Monash or UQ as part of this platform project. Two, to also partner with other groups so we can do more things together rather than doing some sort of distributed work and ending up in duplication of work. So that's the whole idea. So we're hoping that the next in the next few sessions we should have more other groups coming up and leading these conversations and taking specific agendas to progress further and turn it into outcomes and actions. So really looking forward for it. So the next part of the session today is the poll, which is more about understanding what you all think this community of practice should be. So I'm going to hand it to Tarun to speak about the procedure to take this forward.
Hello everyone. So I've set up a Mentimeter poll. You can open this link on your webpage and enter this code to put down your options on the questions we have, or either if you have a smartphone, then you can easily scan this QR code and put down your options or opinions.
There are two questions in this. One which speaks about what do you think the community of practice should be? And the second one is, what will you be interested in contributing to this community of practice, which kind of gives you options around both active and passive involvement in this community. So we'll give probably a minute more before Tarun can show how the inputs are coming through.
Yeah, I think 1 minute should be enough.
And if anyone has any challenges in accessing this poll, please do let us know. And again, I mean, the questions are, there are 4 or 5 choices which is given, and apparently there should be more, there can be more options that can be provided. So if you have any inputs around what do you think that's not covered in that question, and if you think there's something more needs to be covered, please do drop us a text there in the chat window, and we'll consider them as well, and we can put that together for the next discussion. Okay, so how is that tracking, Tarun? Are you able to show the results? Okay, that looks good.
So that's from the first question.
Okay,
And
so yeah, so if we look at the first one, what do you want this community of practice to be? I want it to be structured forum to discuss challenges and capture emerging needs. Yeah, 16. I want it to be a casual and regular peer-to-peer knowledge sharing. 14. So very clear. I think most of you all have voted that it needs to be a combination of all of the above, which is what we thought as well, and which is how we have structured most of this discussion. We apparently wanted to keep this more structured, so we all get some valuable outcomes out of the time that we all spend here as part of this meeting and also outside this meeting, rather than keeping it more open-ended and loose-ended. And I think that's very much reflective here, so that's good. There's also, I'm happy to note, there's also interest in, Tarun, if you can go back. If you can just go back, Tarun.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to note that there's 14 responses, which says that I wanted to be working group to address identify challenges collectively, which is what kind of taking whatever we speak here into action. So that's quite interesting as well. So Tarun, if you go to the next one, please. Yeah. So what will you be interested in contributing to? That's kind of a very fair spread across all the options. But apparently, again, the highest vote is on I'm interested in all the above wherever possible, which says that I'll contribute to tools, documentation, links, and public data collections. So that's apparently through the portal that we have got there. And there are links there to submit your resources, which would be reviewed by someone and published there. I'll be sharing events and trainings from our organization within the community of practice wherever possible. Again, if you look through the website or the portal, there's kind of links to all the events and trainings, which is already listed there. Some of them might be open to everyone and some of them might be open to specific organizations that's running it. But I think it's apparently good to know when and where what's happening. I'm happy to lead actions coming out of this community of practice. That's my favorite one. So there's 11 responses there. Really would be interested to hear from people based on whatever challenges that we identify. And we need more people to lead through these actions and turn them into outcomes. There's also, we do understand it all comes back to the time commitment and a lot of effort which is involved in running through events like this, which is beyond our day-to-day work. So there's a set of people who were interested to tune in and listen to the updates, which is absolutely fine. And we will continue to run most of this for the passive participation as well. That's interesting. Thank you. Thanks, Tarun. If we can go back to the presentation. Yeah. So from here, a set of lightning talks starts. So the first one is a practitioner community, which is from both Monash Data Science and AI platform, which I am part of. Adam is going to be speaking about it. And we have also got the Melbourne Data Analytics platform, which Andrew Siebel will be speaking to. So over to you, Adam.
Thanks, Komathy. So I'm Adam. Hi, everyone. I'm a research fellow in the data science and AI platform at Monash. And this platform at Monash is a group of data specialists and machine learning engineers. And our overall objective really is to make life easier for researchers that are interested in using machine learning and really trying to, in a way, promote and gain more impact from researchers using machine learning. And we do that in a number of ways that I'll get to in just a moment. But if you're familiar with Monash, you'll know that we have many of these, what we call technological research platforms, these centralized groups of, in some cases, people specialists that have a certain area of expertise, and other times it's specialist equipment. So for example, we have a biomedical imaging platform that provides lots of MRI machines and PET scans. In our case, we are a group of experts, and we're closely aligned with the Monash eResearch Centre and Massive, which together represents the storage and compute infrastructure and expertise that supports all of the data-intensive research that goes on at Monash, and also has a national role. So Massive is part of a broader national facility for high-performance computing. So we are a group of kind of a mixed group of people. Some of us have an academic background, others are more straight, for example, deep learning specialists. And we engage with researchers in a number of different ways, but our overall objective is to try to improve and enhance the use of machine learning among researchers. So in this little figure here, if you sort of go from left to right, you get some examples of how we work with researchers. And at the left edge, it's general, where we provide training to broad groups of people. But as you move towards the right, we're getting increasingly involved in the research projects. So we develop training content, particularly focusing on machine learning and deep learning. So I've given some examples of the course content there that we have developed and that we deliver. There are additional training programs that are relevant that are delivered elsewhere in the university, more fundamental things like Python, coding in R, and so on. We also provide drop-in service for people to come and essentially gain very specific advice related to their research. And most relevant to what we're doing right now, we seek to develop things like communities of practice. So this activity we're in right now is part of what our platform does. And again, moving to the right, we're getting more involved in specific research projects, so we can help develop tools or analysis pipelines, prototypes. We're generally trying to generate some sort of solution that solves a problem, but in general, we hope that we're solving a problem that is common to maybe a large group of people. Where in general, we're hoping to do things at scale rather than sort of micro solutions for micro problems. So we hope to develop solutions and then reuse them in the future for similar problems or researchers with similar challenges. And furthest to the right, at times we can actually deploy members of our staff to really form part of that collaborative group working on a research project. And that could be for a very short amount of time, or it could actually be for quite a long time. So there's a lot of flexibility there. So all of these things that I'm describing, we do it at different scales. So we do it locally within our Monash researcher community, but we always have an eye to national engagement. And so things like this is one example, and also internationally as well. So many of these strategic initiatives that we might pursue in many cases involves collaborators from universities with similar models or ambitions overseas. So just down the bottom, I've got that little figure that shows other ways we engage with partners. So we obviously spend a lot of time working with researchers in the university environment, but we also partner closely with industry, with governments. And I really do want to emphasize that we really do work with all faculties across the university. We don't really target any particular faculties, but we do have a lot of work where we're working with local healthcare communities, so local hospitals and other facilities. So I've given that a sort of devoted section there. Tarun, would you mind moving to the next slide? Thank you. So we were asked to outline some of the challenges that we face. So as a platform, we are a centralized team, but we're quite a small team. And as I'm sure everyone in this room is aware, demand for machine learning expertise and applications has accelerated. So there is a challenge with being able to meet that demand. So operating at scale is clearly a challenge, and in some cases recruitment can be difficult. Actually, I might jump to the last dot point I have there, which is career paths for staff. So we are a mixture of professional and academic staff. I'm an academic, but clearly the work that I'm doing is very different to a traditional academic pathway. So my KPIs are very different. So there are questions about how we can support enduring career paths. The other thing we encounter a lot is challenges of working with sensitive data. Universities work with data of all different types, and a lot of it is sensitive data, particularly if you're working with, for example, data that comes out of hospitals. So there's certainly a challenge in accessing that data, and Monash has gone some way to make that process a little bit easier. We have things like the Monash Secure e-research platform, which is a safe haven, a sort of secure environment for analysis of sensitive data. And we are building expertise in other approaches like federated learning and privacy preserving data science. And finally, we do really work with researchers across the whole of the university and across all levels of experience and expertise. So it can be a challenge communicating and developing research plans and outcomes that can meet all of those needs. And particularly if we generate something, let's say we generate a piece of software or a tool to solve a particular problem, it's ideal if that tool can be used long-term to an extent. That's easier if the people using that tool have a certain level of expertise and can take ownership of that and keep it up to date and develop it or extend it themselves rather than relying on us eternally. Clearly there'd be an accumulation problem if we were servicing everything we ever produced forever. So that's all I've got. So I'll hand it back to Tuan.
Thank you, Adam. I'll now pass it to Andrew from Monash Data Analytics, Melbourne Data Analytics Platform.
Thanks, Komathy, and thanks for inviting, including us in today's presentation. I'd like to first acknowledge the people of the Wurundjeri Bullock tribe, who are the traditional custodians of the land where I live. So I'm Andrew Siebel, I'm the platform manager for Melbourne Data Analytics Platform, and essentially we're a diverse team of research data specialists working to enable data-intensive research across the disciplines at the university. We were formed as a workforce component of the Petascale Campus Initiative, which is a 5-year plan to accelerate the university's capacity for data-intensive research. So whilst the Petascale Campus Initiative has been structured to support an academic-led vision, is fully funded by Chancellery, MDAP is funded 50% through Chancellery and 50% by the 10 academic divisions or faculties. So we have a keen focus on collaboration to start with. So we are an academic unit with a team of highly skilled research data specialists working across the entire research life cycle, as distinct from a research service provider. And MDAP's bottom-up approach allows us to collaborate and engage directly with the researchers and research groups. Our second focus is obviously around computing, and our team's experience and background covers a wide range of disciplines and fields, but we're experts in digital methods and uniquely positioned to understand the language of computer scientists, data specialists, data stewards, and obviously, domain experts. And our third key focus is around research impact. And so whilst we're ultimately evaluated on similar metrics to those imposed on traditional teaching and research academics, we also strongly value non-traditional and qualitative research outputs. So our nearly 20 strong team now supports new research directions across all disciplines and facilitates interdisciplinary research. In addition to direct collaboration with researchers, we also work closely with the wider academy to direct researchers to other supporting services, platforms and infrastructure within the university. So as I mentioned, we've got highly skilled individuals in the team from a broad range of discipline backgrounds, and this includes but not limited to like archaeology, psycholinguistics, computer science, geography, astrophysics, mathematics, artificial intelligence, bioinformatics, and more. And we're particularly in the machine learning field, we've got some pretty good background and expertise in that area. And I think we've got probably half a dozen of our team on the line today who do have that kind of experience and expertise. But the unique aspect of what we bring is when a researcher or a research team engages with MDAP, they're not just working with one research data specialist in the team, but they have access to the entire skill set and expertise of the whole team. And so this is what that figure in the bottom right shows you, is that we're bringing together a number of disciplines from and academic domains, but also a broad range of skill sets, which really value adds to the research outcomes. So whilst no two collaborations will ever look the same, nor will the way that we engage with research be identical, our platform is well placed to introduce researchers to new technologies. This include machine learning applications and/or colleagues who can help with their technologies. So whilst we don't claim to be experts in all of these areas, I believe we can help all of our faculty-based research colleagues take their data-intensive research to the next level. And a big part of what we do is around community building across the university, but we're hoping to engage, and that's why we're here today, obviously thinking at a national level, which is really exciting, to bring together some expertise around machine learning from across the country. So we're really keen to get involved in this community of practice. And whilst I don't have a slide and a list of the challenges, many of them are actually quite similar to what Adam outlined, certainly around career paths and and upskilling our colleagues around the university. But another one is around consolidating training offerings, and so that's where we see some real great value in bringing people together, consolidating, preventing that kind of duplication of effort, as Komathy explained in the introduction as well. So yep, that gives you an overview of where we're at, and yeah, really happy to be involved in the community of practice. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. And the next set of talks is straightforward to the training. So we've got Intersect, we've got again data science and AI platform, as well as we've got NCI talking about their challenges. Over to you, Anastasius.
Thanks, Komathy, and thanks for inviting me to speak about Intersect. So just to give an overview of Intersect and who we are, we're a not-for-profit e-research organization. We formed back in 2008. We are owned and directed by a consortium of 12 universities, Australian universities, and we operate and we deliver all this training that I'm going to talk about to 16 universities and operate across 5 states and territories. So our main goal is, of course, to accelerate research and trying to provide as much support as possible in terms of digital tools and technologies that are widely used. On the left side, I tried to summarize a bit of everything of what we're doing. So Intersect is doing a lot of training. It's one of the main focus that we have nowadays. And last year, you can see the numbers, our numbers. So we delivered more than 300 courses and trained around 5,500 people across Australia. And of course, machine learning is part of it. But the difference is that we take training as a research project here. So we don't care only about like ticking the box of numbers and saying like, well, yes, we're delivering and training people, but we're evaluating our systems, we're evaluating our pedagogical approach, we're evaluating our quality of training, and we're trying to understand also like where these people are coming from, why they're needing the training, what kind of topics they're related to their research, and of course, like trying now to capture one of the hardest ones, which is the training impact on people's research life cycle. So here you can see actually what we did. And then in the middle, I have also our course catalog. It's a bit trimmed to focus only on the programming pathways and machine learning. So we start with a lot of awareness webinars where we are trying to raise awareness about like all the coding aspects and all the fundamentals of programming or the showcase of different things. And then we start the journey of people who can start with really basic tools in programming, in different programming languages like R, Python, Julia, MATLAB, and then go all the way to a bit more advanced topics. And of course, end up to introductory machine learning courses. So at the moment, in terms of machine learning, we have 3 courses which are introductory level. So people who don't have any expertise in machine learning, they can come and learn about what is machine learning. So we're touching topics like linear regression. Then also another topic is the classification, and we finish with support vector machine and unsupervised learning. So really touching these use cases as like a really like a beginner user. And of course, we're developing now the same thing in R, which is going to be ready probably in July or so. And we're trying to broaden a bit the course catalog into the machine learning area, but still keep it to the introductory level, because that's the goal we have and that's the audience. And as Komathy and Andrew and Adam and everybody is saying, is like our goal is not to replicate what training is already provided, but mainly focus on gaps that we identify. So last year we provided the machine learning in Python courses, and the demand is huge. We had at least almost 200 people on the waiting list for each of the courses. And this is because we didn't push the communication that much, because it was already overwhelming. So I guess the demand is even higher, actually, to be honest. So the challenges that we have at the moment are 3 I just have here on the right of the slide. So not many trainers with machine learning expertise who can deliver quality training. So it's different, like we're doing this training for quite a long time now to realize that it's different to have the expertise and it's different to be able to teach. So a lot of people are coming to Intersect, and we have structured a whole like training process of train the trainer, or teaching them the pedagogical aspects and trying to put them into the training environment, because it's challenging, and not every person is ready to teach. So that's one of the challenges, to find people with the expertise of machine learning and also like ready to teach. Then another thing is also like people with machine learning expertise who can develop quality training courses, because like you can find material everywhere, you can find sources, but then developing courses for researchers where like the structure of the course needs to be in a certain way. You need to teach certain things, you need to identify different case scenarios which are identified in research environment. It makes the course completely different from what you can find in LinkedIn Learning or other sources. So finding people who have the expertise and can develop like really good quality training is also a big challenge as well. And as I said before, like there is a high demand within academia for machine learning courses throughout the whole way, from introductory to deep learning neural networks, and goes on and goes on. So yeah, we're trying to teach as many people as possible, but still like the demand for support after this one is big as well. So our approach at the moment to find a sort of a solution is we're hiring casual trainers, so to increase our team of casuals. So we have around 20 people at the moment in our team, plus the research analysts who are around 12. So we're a team of 30 people, and we're trying to hire a few more, actually like 5-6 people in the with expertise in machine learning, and guide them through the journey of like, and train the trainer, train the trainer. So teach them how like how we do it, and how like is the appropriate way of delivering these kind of courses. And then after a few months have these people ready, because it's a long process, and it's not gonna be like from day one that every person is ready to teach this kind of training courses. So that's who we are. We're happy to participate in any discussions around machine learning, of course, and we're happy to contribute in the website. I had already discussions with Titus and Komathy about that. And yeah, we're interested in any initiatives, and happy to take it from here.
Thank you, Anastasius. So the next one is from NCI. I'm not sure if Jingbo is here. She did write to me saying that she might have challenges connecting to the call today. So I'm going to quickly run through the slides. So, I mean, as she kind of put what are the various challenges that they're facing, which is in very much in line with what we're all speaking here. One is, I think NCI has been working towards bringing more community awareness for the ML tools and libraries available. They wanted to provide more information on how to effectively use these libraries and achieve best performance on their computing environment. One thing they've been speaking to us about is bringing about how to bring forums for discussion on the experiences and lessons learned by each of these members and how that can be leveraged by other groups, which probably is one of the ideas of the community of practice itself. So very much in line with, I think, what we're all speaking specifically around training. But then there's also some pointers towards the HPC environment that would be the next topic of discussion. So we do have Titus speaking about training from Monash Data Science and AI platform. Over to you, Titus.
Thanks, Komathy. Hi, everyone. My name is Titus Tang. I'm an educator and a deep learning engineer on the Monash Data Science and AI platform. And my colleague Adam, who presented earlier, has already provided a great introduction to the data science and AI platform, so I won't repeat there. But I'll be focusing a little bit more on the training side of the activities that we do. So many of the machine learning related training activities at Monash are led by the data science and AI platform and supported by Data Fluency, who helps us with the staffing of teaching assistants and help us with the outreach activities in terms of promoting our events. The data science and AI platform is a relatively new platform. We kickstarted our training activities early last year in 2020. And in the year 2020 alone, despite COVID, we have held about more than 20 training activities, training workshops over the entire year. Pretty much almost all of our workshops have been fully subscribed. And I don't intend to say that as a brag, but just more of an indication of the amount of demand there is for our training activities. In 2020, we focused largely on the introductory content in deep learning specifically. So we have introductory courses that introduce deep learning in general, and we have courses that introduce deep learning for computer vision and deep learning for natural language processing. In 2021, we are slightly shifting our focus a little and moving towards slightly more advanced and niche topics targeted at either at specific domains of knowledge or in specific techniques in machine learning and deep learning. So one example is a semi-supervised deep learning workshop that we have created and ran for the first time in March, just last month. And this choice of topic, this choice of the workshop, is actually comes from demand from the community feedback that we have received. So there are many challenges when it comes to running training workshops, especially in the COVID era. But by far, one of our biggest challenges is the ability to recruit and retain sufficient trainers with the right domain expertise to deliver and scale our activities to a larger group, not just in Monash, but also nationally across Australia. As Adam mentioned, there are challenges with career paths, but there are also challenges when it comes to getting the right people with the right domain expertise, especially in machine learning and deep learning, and also having trainers, retaining trainers over longer periods of time, say a few years, in order to deliver our activities. I'm definitely happy to be part of the machine learning community of practice. I would love if all of you, I will invite all of you to please get in touch with us with the Data Science and AI platform. Our contact details can be found at the end of the slide deck. And feel free to suggest activities or workshop topics that you would like to see happen in the community, or any other ideas that you might have. And that's it from me. I'll hand it back to Komathy.
Thanks, Titus. Probably one thing worth mentioning here is also Titus did a survey last year to identify what specific training activities, what specific topics needs to be covered on training, and most of the trainings that he has been developing is in line with what the community thought is important. That's something which probably, Titus, if you can share with this group, would be useful. And if the community sees that there needs to be more wide range of topics or different set of topics that needs to be covered, I think that would inform more about what kind of training courses needs to be focused in the future. Thank you. Thanks, Titus. So that brings to the next topic, which is around high performance computing community challenges. That would be from Kiowa and Anne.
I might just start this conversation, Anne, if that's okay. My name's Kiowa, and I work here at the Monash eResearch Centre on the high performance computing team. But a lot of my work has been around thinking about high performance computing and how we make that more accessible to people doing machine learning. Obviously, as machine learning becomes a more and more useful tool for more communities, that's fantastic. But machine learning has also started to require more and more resources like GPUs and CPUs and storage. A really natural progression from this is to start looking at high performance computing centers and how you can access HPC resources for your ML work. This causes some interesting challenges as well. A lot of machine learning training in particular encourages high interactivity. So things like working with Jupyter notebooks and TensorBoard as platforms. These are highly interactive places to do ML. High performance computing doesn't always encourage interactivity. So this can cause a little bit of friction when you're moving to using HPC resources. I know quite a few people in this meeting use a HPC or work on a HPC team, and they're very aware of this. Other challenges include learning curves. Lots of researchers who are using ML aren't necessarily from a computer science background. And so having to not only learn how to use tools such as Python and machine learning, and then also having to learn things like command line and Unix to move on to a HPC can be really overwhelming, and we're aware of that. Next slide, please, Tarun. Other challenges are things like resource compatibility. Trying to install software on HPC systems can be difficult. Using things like containers that NVIDIA provides to the community is difficult on HPC infrastructure. And then just other challenges like understanding resource usage on computer that's not your own and moving data around, et cetera, et cetera. So as sort of part of this HPC facing side of the community, we really want to start to think about how we can engage with other high performance computing sites to do things like make resources for our researchers, improve our documentation, and make machine learning as easy as possible. I might hand over to Anne to see if she's got any additional comments on HPC and machine learning.
Thanks, Kiowa. I think you've covered it pretty well. I would just add that, yes, there is a lot of interest. We witnessed that even from the internship program, where several of those projects of the 25 projects that we had, 20 rather, they had an interest in machine learning, and they were using machine learning tools. As you mentioned, there are a variety of tools, domain-based tools that makes it challenging. The base underlying programming languages as well make it a challenge to decide where we want to focus without duplication. Containers. We've been offering a number of container trainings to different domains targeted at those as webinar workshop series in a hybrid format, and that has had a lot of uptake, and we have continued requests for those. And I think that also speaks to one of the challenges that you're talking about. As you know, we're moving on to a new system. And that will be looking at this whole space in light of that new system. So other than that, nothing else to add to that, Kiowa.
In which case, I'll wrap that up by saying, if you have ideas about high performance computing and machine learning, challenges that you face as a researcher or as a HPC admin, please reach out to us with the ML for AU website. We really want to collaborate and make things easier for everybody. I'll hand back to Komathy. Thank you, Anne.
Thanks, Kaiwa, and thanks, Anne. Probably one thing to note here is there's also the portal or the website has some scripts around resource monitoring, checkpointing, and benchmarking that the platform team, which has worked as is published. Please do leverage, see whatever is useful, and please do leverage them. And if you have something interesting on your site to share, please do publish them as well for the community to use. Okay, that wraps up the HPC. So we will go to researcher presentations. So we've got two presentations. One is from Oliver from University of Queensland, and the other one from Sonika from Alfred Hill. So Oliver, if you're here, I'll hand it over to you.
Yes, I just, excuse me. Yeah, I just actually came in from a training course just then. Okay, I've got a foot in both camps. I've worked in the research area as a researcher, but now I'm more a infrastructure provider side of things. But on the researcher, if I put my researcher hat on, I've done most of my work with cell biology, molecular bioscience. And one area in particular, which is where machine learning is going to be critical, is with the high throughput imaging instruments that are out there now. So currently I'm working with lattice light sheet data. Now, as a computer resource intensive activity, these instruments, they'll put out something like, if researchers are working really hard at it and they can smell a good paper coming down, they'll be working on those machines. They'll bring swags and camp beds into the office and just run them 24/7, and they'll generate 15 terabytes, 10 terabytes of data per day, and do it for a 5-8 day straight period. With that data, you need a lot of HPC resources to then pre-process that data, to put it into a format, which then can be used for analysis and visualization. And there's the big catch, is that all this data has been turned into a lot of stuff to visualize, and researchers can't go through and look at these data sets manually. They're going to need some sort of machine learning help to identify, characteristics that they're looking for in these live cell images that they have. So you basically have a movie of what's happening to cells under different treatments and whatnot. But it's a 3D movie, so you have to look at it from all different angles. Well, not all different angles, but you have a lot of angles to look at things from. It's a bit like looking for a needle in a haystack sometimes. And to do that, you need to automate it, and machine learning is one of the ways to do that. And I'm working with a researcher right now who's developing novel machine learning approaches to identify characteristics. So, the researcher can identify an area in the cell that they think is interesting. And then once you've trained the system to spot it, we should be able to let the, take it onto a pipeline and have that basically put up a bell to say, okay, we found something of interest in your data. Now, that's a lot easier said than done. It requires a lot of infrastructure that comes before the machine learning side of things. And then we need a lot of infrastructure on the machine learning side of things as well. So you need both. Like, we need general compute, we need a lot of GPUs, we need a lot of storage, we need fast networks to make it work. One thing that I was thinking about that I haven't put down in the slide is the speed that the research gets done now. Like, when I first started, I was working in like EM microscopy data sets where things were a bit slower. that was like 10 years ago, the pace was slower, whereas now the data's coming through fast and the research seems to be going fast as well. So that's another factor, is that you really can't stand still because everyone's at it. And again, you know, machine learning is going to help accelerate going through these data sets. So if we go to the next slide, I've got a little movie here. If you press play to keep everyone entertained while I talk. So that's just an example of one of the data sets that we're looking at. It's a bunch of macrophage cells, and what they want to spot is you know, a characteristic in the behavior of the cell. So it's not just, you know, statically what it's doing, it's what it's doing as it's moving around. So we're using machine learning to paint on the cell characteristics that a researcher might be interested in seeing. And then once we've done that, we can feed that back into databases and use it to try and pinpoint areas. And I mean, the challenge is everything. Like at UQ, these machines have like taken out infrastructure to breaking point, I would say, just with the sheer amount of data that we're flowing through, the amount of compute that has to be done, and then the amount of, this is like normal compute to assemble these images. And then you have compute that comes afterwards, which is to do the machine learning. And that is quite onerous as well because of the size of the of some of these imaging sets and the fact that they're in 3D and the volume's quite big. And if you've got a researcher trying to develop new algorithms to target this, they also need to have quite powerful machines so they can iterate quickly with you know, different things that they're trying. So everything's very big, very large scale. You can't do it on your own anymore. Like, you need to have proper infrastructure that's set up at a much broader level than you know, labs going it alone and doing machine learning themselves. Like with a big powerful workstation, it just doesn't work. You need to have you know, good solid centralized machines to run all this stuff on. So yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge is just the sheer size of it. And I guess this type of science, you have to have a lot of people come together to tackle it. And that's what I'll say about what I'm doing at EQ.
Thanks, Oliver. That helps. And I think we hope that we'll get more connections to work along, identify similar challenges and see how we can address that together.
Yeah, well, it has to be together. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything done.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, these have to be large groups undertaking the work, especially to provide the infrastructure that is going to support end researchers that they're going to work with it.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the focus that we'll have towards the end of the session to tune these challenges and see what all we can do together and how we can do together. Before we get there, I'll invite Sonika to speak about the challenges that she want to address here. Thanks, Sonika.
Hi, thanks, Komathy. Hi, my name is Sonika Tyagi, and I work at the Monash Department of Infectious Diseases and the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne. And my research revolves around, application of machine learning in genomics and digital health. And these points that I'm discussing today have been put together by, getting feedback from my group members. So it might come across as a very, very narrow view, but yeah, these are some of the just practical challenges that we have faced over the years when developing and applying machine learning to our biological research questions. So some of these points, for example, access to compute infrastructure, waiting time, estimating runtime, these may be just common points for all of the researchers who are accessing HPC infrastructure, and then some are more specific to machine learning development that we are doing. So, for example, access to GPU wasn't always readily available, so we have to run our jobs on CPUs, and then when it becomes available, it's not straightforward that you can just switch between CPU and GPU. So some of my team members said that it added to time lag, that they had to convert their scripts going from CPU to GPU usage. Another one is that documentation about what are the existing tools and techniques that are available on our Monash HPC, and importantly, that other people are, running, and other data sets that exist that may be commonly used for development and testing purposes will be useful. Going to the topic of technical support, we get fantastic support from massive staff, and they're always very responsive and helpful, and make sure that they have addressed the issues that we raised. So very thankful for that, and also thankful for all the training that has been developed and being run in the ML space. Many of my students have attended those training, and we look forward to more advanced topics in ML. And also, like, my group members have been volunteering also in these training, and we will be able to even contribute some domain-specific training material in future. So very happy to do that. And what I think generally, this is also my personal view, that we lack this discussion forum around machine learning here at Monash specifically, and then probably going outside Monash and looking at Melbourne and national groups. So I think that it brings that social aspect. You meet other like-minded people who are facing your kind of challenges in this space, and you don't feel left out. And so even though there's heaps of material that's there that you can Google, but there are always, there are aspects, for example, if you're following a tutorial, it may not be end to end. A lot of time, those tutorials are developed with handpicked perfect examples. And when you deal with real time, problems and real data, and there are lots of those initial steps where you have to transform data in some way. So it could be like we deal with a lot of both structured and unstructured data. And just meeting some people, face to face through these virtual meetups or in person, and learning from other people's experiences and sharing our own knowledge. I think, through this discussion forum will be really helpful, and also it will encourage, early adopters of new technology. Even if the code doesn't exist, there's an idea, there's just a roadmap, and you have other people to bounce your ideas with, and that will be helpful through this such community of practices. And also, there's no set standards for what is best practice when you are applying machine learning to your specific domain, but it's all through these community interactions and looking at literature and documentation, is that you stay up to date with what is current in a particular machine learning domain. So I think, I'm all supporter of such community of practice, and will be happy to contribute moving forward.
Thank you, Sonika. That's very insightful. I think thanks for thanks for volunteering to contribute towards creating domain-specific ones. I think that's what we would probably need, right? So while these technology groups come together and start putting it, we still need to focus more towards a specific domain-specific training and workshops. So any support there and any inputs would be definitely valuable. And also, I think you nailed it when you said we need forums to bounce ideas. I think that's applicable across all the 4 communities that we're speaking here, right? So, which is very useful. And if I point back, Titus has been asking for similar inputs as well. Can you tell us what more topics we need to cover? So I think it's more about having that forum, like-minded people to bounce those ideas and see what other people have and how we can bring this together and discuss. So that's the whole idea. So that really validates the purpose of all that discussion that we're having here. Okay, so that brings us to the end of lightning talks. I'm not sure if we should take a pause here and start taking some questions or inputs, or so that the next part of the session is more about summarizing all these challenges and again putting another question back to you all to ask about what do you think, what are the challenges you all think should be discussed. I might probably just go ahead with this one section and then open it for discussion. So I would invite Anne to join me to summarize some of these challenges, which all these presentations focused about, and speak about the next step. So Anne, do you want to go first?
Sure, I can do that. So thank you. It's been very interesting. And I think hearing from each community, the things that popped out to me is that there were shared themes across communities. Namely, the things that popped out were the training challenges, finding experienced qualified trainers, especially if we think about the advanced training needs. That seemed to be something that, even though we try to split it into 4 kind of communities, I think those things cross communities. Access to infrastructure and tools. And I think Oliver said that very well when he talked about the speed of analysis and just the sheer size of what researchers are facing. And then the skills to use. Yep. Hey, Oliver.
Mind you, it's not all about the big, because you got to support the small just as well, I think.
Absolutely.
You get a bit blinded by, oh yeah, we'll just do, big
the
stuff.
Big peta excess.
And then you've left a very important component out.
Yeah, good point. And I think the third thing that popped is the need for community, both cross-domain community and domain-specific community, and the collaborations and the importance of partnerships to avoid duplication, to be able to create those synergies. So those were, to me, the 3 things that really kind of popped in. I seem to continue to hear information of all the communities talking about those. I'm sure there are others, so please, this is a time where we'd love for you to join in the conversation. So we're down to 51, so I think you can pop your microphones on and just chat if there are other things that seem to pop to you as well.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. I just want to add one more aspect to this entire challenges which has been put right. So staffing has come out significantly in multiple areas. One, I think some initial, I think Adam spoke about challenges in recruiting staff in practitioner environment, which is more about having the right skill set, not just on technology, but understanding research. There was also a pointer which says that retaining trainers, I think Anastasia spoke about finding right people who are interested to do training, who can deliver training and develop trainings. So that sort of staffing has also been a challenge. Retaining people, retaining trainers over a long period of time, because most of the time these are kind of students who these groups engage to provide training. So there's a quick turnaround of staff. There is also upskilling the staff itself, not just the user community, but keeping our own groups upskilled and having enough challenges to work on so that they can bring additional expertise into the table on the table. That's always, though there's always a demand, that's one of the key challenge. Career path, I think, and there's always be challenges around where do we go? Is it the technology or is it the research? Where do we fit in between? So I think staffing and career path has come out significantly well as well. Domain expertise has also cut in many areas. So one, either it's a research group or is the technology groups. How do we bring both together and develop suitable knowledge with domain expertise? That's what I can think of. This also, the slide also speaks to all the challenges that have been spoken about all the presenters here. Apparently, time to open up for discussion. There is a questionnaire that Tarun is going to run now, and probably once we have outcomes of that question, then probably that's the time to open up for discussion. Please do get on. Tarun, over to you.
Yep. So we have another Mentimeter poll. This will have only one question. You can open the webpage www.menti.com and put down this code, or you can scan it with this QR code and put down a word or a couple of words in terms of what you would like to, what you would like us to focus on in the next meeting, and we'll look at a word cloud.
If I can just add there, the idea of this question is one, what is that significant thing that you think is the challenge that we all need to address together? I'm sure we collectively spoke about so many challenges so far, but what is that one significant thing that you all think that needs to be addressed? So based on the community's input, then it's more about looking at what are the next steps to address it? What is that? Do we have to pick up a specific topic to discuss in detail in the next session, which needs to come out as some sort of action? So that's the whole idea of this. So that's one of the reasons why it's restricted to just one word or one sentence. But apparently, if you have more inputs, please do speak up as well. That would be really valuable. Thanks, Adam, for that comment. I see your point on having an at-tasker kind of interface, which lists the list of ML roles and to find a suitable person, which probably is one of the key challenges that we all face, to see who is that person with that right skill set, who we can reach out to and seek some support, help in whatever form, and what are the roles, kind of a job board post as well, to put this is the skill set that we need for a specific project, and see how we can match it. Apparently, definitely one of that suggestion that we can take further and discuss to understand what are the interests among all of you, to see how we can implement that. Okay. I see people have to leave. Thanks everyone for joining. Whoever has to leave now, John, I see your comment. Okay. That's interesting. Training, as we all expected, probably training is taking that central center of attention now, where there needs to be more. It also defines where we are in that curve. So it's kind of that stage where we are bringing more awareness, and I would think that once there's certain degree of awareness and trainings which is already in place, then all the complex ones will pick up more in terms of, now how can I get the best performance out of my scripts on my HPC environment. So it's probably an indicator of the stage we are all in.
There's some good ideas coming through the chat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Lance, for that comment. Yes, definitely. It's more about exploring how we can make this portal or even find some other form of blog. And I think that's one of the questions we had to the community, more in terms of how do you want to engage? Because the meetings can't happen very often because we're all constrained of time. So probably once in a month or once in 2 months, but there needs to be some sort of forum through which we can all continuously engage. A Slack, a forum, a discussion forum, board. Apparently, there's always some sort of push communications as newsletters through which we want to communicate. So there's various meetups. Yes, definitely one. Hopefully, after more face-to-face meetings can happen, we can build more meetup style engagement as well. And that's something, I'm not sure if we are covering that today, but that's something, definitely a question that we want to put back and ask the group, how we want to engage, what are the various forms of engagement that we should develop. Might come as one of the survey questions post this session. And Paul Wong, to your point, developing a good set of use cases. That's something which probably you would see in one of the upcoming events. So there are 2 or 3 series of showcase events that has been planned as a part of community of practice, which is more about encouraging people to come and speak about how the successful use cases, but not just successful, but more in terms of who are exploring and what stage they are currently in, and also give more forum for discussions. So yes, definitely something in plan, and if you've got more inputs on how or what other mechanisms we can do it, happy to take it. Sonika, thanks. Yes, consistency of events is important, definitely. And I think that's one of the key discussion after we finish this questionnaire, more to understand how we can take turns in running events like this or meetings like this, and take some lead on some of the outcomes that would come out of this. Noel, yes, the other meetup groups. It's a very interesting point, because one thing which we have been, which we think would be definitely valuable, is to find ways how we can bring awareness of what is already happening elsewhere, which is one of the key challenge. Because if most of these events, not meetups, but some of these events happen within individual organizations. So bringing awareness around what's already existing would be crucial, and that's one reason why we've got this portal as well. So if you're aware of something, please do publish it on the portal, so more people are aware of it and can join some of the existing ones rather than trying to create whatever is already existing. Yeah, anyone else want to add? And do you want to pick some comments on there? I see a lot more.
Yeah, I saw that Toby had written something around, there's a move in HPC circles towards certification. There is a global push toward the certification efforts, with identifying a core set of competencies. And I think they're working on assessments right now as well, and breaking it out into roles and the various roles, and what are the competencies that are recognized for those roles. And then how do you, so when somebody moves among centers or moves among institutions, if they've got a certification of an X role, sysadmin or whatever that role is, then you know that they have certain qualifications. That is something that's been going on for a while with the HPC certification forum, I know. I don't know if the machine learning forum has thought about, or this group has thought about that, or there's a similar thing going on there. And plain language is the second one. Having things that are not too, especially for awareness and introductory. People who are not quantitative.
And Meena, I think your suggestion is great as well, creating a taxonomy map of for ML practitioners. Yeah, I think something that we should all collectively look at generating together. So
cross-fertilization, I think, between industry and academia is also very interesting.
Yeah. They're really interesting comments there. So we're going to save the chat and take that as some of the inputs or suggestions that we received out of this community, and start putting that together. Mingfang, yes, task force for each challenge. Absolutely. I think that's where we all want to get into, to understand now at some point when we speak about the challenges, how we can take it further into actions. Definitely one topic we should target on. Before moving too fast on that, I'm keen to ask if any of the people who have put some comments there, do you want to speak anything in detail there? Want to give more inputs around what do you think? I can't see all the people, so probably really want people to speak out. Jason, I see you've raised your hand.
Yes, just to my comment in the chat, I think that that machine learning is a sort of concept of the moment, and people want to get involved in it, whether they really have the quality of the data, whether they have the infrastructure, and it sort of becomes your problem as the mathematician, the statistician, the machine learning engineer to try and sort of make sense out of this. So I think my point about the resources is that machine learning isn't necessarily going to be appropriate for every problem or every problem right now. It may guide you towards where you need to be able to harness the power of machine learning. But I think there's certain issues about the machine learning isn't necessarily the magic bullet, and also the emerging issues around the ethical application of ML and AI. And I think that probably for someone who maybe comes from a more mathematical, quantitative background, the newer sort of fronts in the ethical use of the technologies is something that we're maybe not across, and we could all be doing independent literature reviews to try and educate ourselves. But if that was centralized somewhere, I think that would be a very useful adjunct to the main mission of this group.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful point, Jason. Thanks. I think the whole point around ethical use of AI, explainability, how do we better achieve explainability in ML? What are the best practices that we all could share if someone has tackled it in specific challenge? What are the various things, tips and tricks? How do we help others implement it? Would be definitely valuable. Point taken.
What's the position on hacky hours? I'm sure it must have come up when training's being discussed. Because we run general hacky hours at UQ, to have machine, and I'm sure that there's a machine learning based one as well, where interested parties get together, and then you have a few experts lead the way. And they normally do it for an hour or so over a coffee. And if you sponsor it, if you give people free coffees or free Tim Tams,
you have to get more chairs in.
Yeah. But like Nick's been very successful with his that he's running at UQ, and now I think it's going to extend into machine learning as well. So you'll get the really bright undergrads doing it.
Oh, hi everyone. Yeah, just as a related point, hi, I'm Toby, by the way. Meetup groups are really good. So here in Perth, we have a machine learning meetup group, and it's a place where people can discuss machine learning and get experience in these particular aspects of machine learning. And so things like that can be a breeding ground for expertise in machine learning. So yeah, so meetup groups are a really good idea. Yeah.
But with the hacky hours, it's not normally people will come with a problem. Like there's a lot of R stuff that gets discussed, and I think it's the people that are there really want to be there, and the people that are there to lead them really want to be there as well. So you get a lot of benefit out of it.
I think both the meetups as well as the Akias are useful in its own sense. The meetups are definitely good to bring in more and share knowledge. And Hackias, I think every organization has its own name to it. But some sort of drop-down sessions where you bring your challenges, speak about your challenges specifically, and find some help to get your challenges addressed and see how we can tackle it together. So yeah, definitely valuable. So I see that people are dropping out before we lose too much people. Tarun, can you go to the outcomes from the mentee? Yeah. So yeah. So there is significant, I mean, as we all can see, there's a lot around training. Though I mean, I would assume because of the number of character restrictions, it doesn't specifically speak about what specific challenges in training, but I can see a lot around delivering training, and Tarun, thanks for highlighting delivering training, advanced ML trainings, taxonomy in ML, ML specific to domains, more around Docker containers. So there's wide variety of topics there, and I would assume most of them are centered around trainings. So do we all see that that's probably the next topic of discussion in terms of how we can look at specific challenges under training and start thinking about addressing, creating task forces, working groups to see how we can pick specific ML training challenges and address them. Very lightweighted, coming up with some sort of approach and taking it further. Dixon, I'm not sure if ADSN is part of the COP, but definitely something that we would check. Thanks for bringing it up. So any feedback on picking training as the next topic of discussion? Okay, thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. And again, probably I'm going to put back, thanks for thumbs up. So probably put that question back and ask, would any of the groups that spoke about training challenges be interested to kind of chair that next meeting on trainings? Obviously with support from ARDC and support from some of these projects team. But if there's a team that, if there's any particular group or individual who would like to take training as a topic of discussion and run it through in the next meeting.
Happy to do that, Komathy.
Thank you. Thanks, Anastasius. That sounds good. So looks like that's a good outcome. So one of us will reach out to you, Anastasius, to start thinking about how and what we need to cover in the next session and how we can organize it. Yeah, that's largely what we had. Tarun, do you want to quickly give an overview of what are the next set of events?
Yep, sure, I can do that. So we do know that all of us are conducting our respective training events in our respective organizations, and this is one of the places on the website where we do have a few events or training events which are open to all. And these events currently, like this event is currently running like right now. So these events are open to all, and it'll also be good if we can have more collaborators who would like to invite other organizations to take part in their training events. And if you'd like to have that happen, then make sure you contact us and let us know, and it'll be easy for us to add your training events on the website, so that your registration link will be on the website, and you'll have people from other organizations as well taking part of your training events. Is there something you'd like to add, Komathy?
Thanks, Tarun. I think that's useful. It's more about now asking you all if you can do any other event you see that fit that needs to be brought into bring more awareness. Please do populate in this portal. There are links there to reach out and see how you can put them in here. And I see, Toby, your comment on sponsoring ML meetups, and I think Mingfang is a point made directly to ARDC. I hope ARDC and Mingfang notes that and take it for further discussions. That all sounds good. I think we've covered what we wanted to cover, and thanks for that amazing participation. We did not expect, specifically considering it's school holidays and most of the holiday season is not finished. It's really interesting and encouraging to see so many people come forward and participate. And thanks to all the presenters as well, who came forward and put their challenges up. So the next steps would be, you'll obviously receive an email on the presentation and the recording from today's event, and also a set of short questions on what your feedback are, what are the next points of focus and stuff. Meanwhile, if you have any question or any feedback or interest in getting engaged, please do reach out to us. So there's a link which is put in there, which will take you through some questions and put your contact to us. Definitely more interested for more groups to come along, more groups to lead, take actions, and drive some of these challenges that we all collectively face. Together, let's solve them. I think that's the key. That's a key agenda and motive here of this entire conversation. That is probably what I have. Is there any other comments or feedbacks or input that anyone wants to add here? Thank you, Anne. Thanks to you too.
Maybe I would like to point out that the next upcoming event is the Data Science Week. Maybe Anne can give more details about this, which is open to all. And I've linked the website here on the web page. You can have a look.
Yeah, thank you for that link. So there are sites running nationally, or events running nationally for Data Science Week. So participate or lead one. It's growing every year, so looking forward to your participation and or contribution.
Thank you. Thanks, Anne. Thanks, Tarun. So if there's no further comments, which I can't see any hands raised up, we will wind up the session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, you all.
Komathy, I have you 1 minute. So basically, I just take slides from screenshot of 4 slides from maybe Union, Intersect, and which one the others, NCI. So send it to our Commons team for tweet.